So part of the reason, I would say, and it's getting into the history again of what's happening in the years following Jesus passing off the scene, and then the ministry of Paul, has the old Roman Empire is trying to consolidate itself again. Constantine sees the value of this religion that had many followers, people, and again, the followers I just mentioned. There were Gnostics, Docetists, Ebionites, like I said, affiliated largely with James. But the diversity meant that you didn't have the same degree of unity if you were going to use a religious argument as the glue to bring the old Roman Empire back together. And so Constantine is the one that calls the Council of Nicaea in the 4th century and basically says, work this out to figure out what we believe. And then even the whole idea of the creeds, that is so important, to then get people to understand, if you're a Christian, tell me exactly what you believe. It was a way of weeding out those who didn't believe the same thing, to get rid of those Gnostics, to get rid of those Ebionites, to get rid of those Docetists or those adoptionists. Because then there was another group known as the adoptionists who actually also existed in Moorish Spain. And then you had with the coming of Islam, the religion of Islam, or al-Islam, and by that I mean specifically the religion as defined following the Arab prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and all the prophets. With that religion, Christians in the old Byzantine Empire are being confronted by this theology that's asking them to explain, why do you say that Jesus is God and God alone? As opposed to, saying he is a prophet of God. And yes, a prophet can have amazing power and ability as bestowed by the one God, Allah. So those two religions, they clash, and it also creates a dialogue, and the dialogue results in many Christians saying, well, Jesus was adopted by God. So that's the adoptionists. So they're saying, okay, he wasn't born as God, but he's adopted by God. And as a result of him being adopted by God, now he is God's son, and only son. The adoptionists, who will also start to influence, needless to say, different Catholic communities in different areas, and even some in the Eastern Orthodox. And the result of this discussion too, of East, if you will, meeting Western interpretations of Jesus, people are now saying, well, if God told us, have no graven images, why are you putting up crucifixes? Why are you putting up images of Jesus that you say are God? Now, much of that is the result of this dialogue also with those in the Jewish community who are saying to these communities that are defining themselves as Christians, if you Christians still believe the Old Testament as being the foundation for what emerges in the New Testament, and the Old Testament says, according to the 10 Commandments, make no graven images, why are you making a graven image? That's a graven image, and just because you're worshiping that image as God. And so you have something known as the iconoclastic controversy. And you have those who are opposed to having these icons and those who embrace having the icons. And for about, I think it's about 90 years, there's an effort in the church to destroy all existing icons, to cover up all the images. The only thing you could have would be a cross. You weren't or maybe a fish, but you weren't supposed to have an anthropocentric representation of God. But the early in the church in the late 8th, 9th century, then decides to overturn that and says, no, we've concluded that icons are okay. And they reintroduce the use of icons in worship, arguing that God did come in the person of a human, and therefore putting up that image is a way of reminding us of our connection to God.